Okay, that's it. Oh, I gotta talk about this game now. It's not like I have any beef with it. It's what people are freaking saying about it and acting as if AAA companies will take notice. And they also act as if turn-based isn't dead. But when this game sold just 1 mil in its first 3 days, that just further proves it. And look at this. I'm sure people aren't even talking about this. They choose not to talk about this. This game only sold 500k copies in 1 day. One freaking day. And in this article, it seems that it's at 2 mil after a week. Yet, people act as if AAA companies will take notice to this? Something that only sold 500k in its first freaking day. And don't bother telling me that this game is that Dev Studio's first game when it damn well looks next gen. It's sold on PS5 and Series X. It's not some digital only low budget indie game. So it is certainly fair competition. Freaking AC Shadow sold way more than just a mil in its first 3 days. Oblivion apparently sold 4 mil so soon, either in its first day or in its first 3 days. And Monster Hunter Wild sold 8 mil in its first 3 days. I will never play Monster Hunter again after Worlds and its Iceborne DLC. But even I can acknowledge those crazy sales. Even I know that Monster Hunter doesn't make you stand there and take turns. You don't do that shit. Now let's talk about some other recent turn-based games that came out in the last couple of years. Such as those Yakuza spin-offs. Such as recently that Like a Dragon Pirates one. And this is just the Japanese sales, but still just 105k units in its first day. That is just sad, and it's Japan. Like that's the freaking origin of turn-based RPGs. Well, kinda. On to the first Like a Dragon spinoff. That game dropped in 2020. It took that game 3 years to sell 1.8 million. Just 1.8 mil after 3 freaking years. And how about Metaphor? People love bringing this one up. That one dropped last year. Sold just 1 mil in its first day. I mean, yeah, that's twice as much as Expedition 33, but still freaking beauty in this age. No wonder this lost to Astrobot. Turn-based isn't dead, my ass. Screw these nostalgia-blinded fanboys that are stuck in the 80s and 90s. Y'all think AAA companies will take notes from this when it sold so little, and other recent turn-based games sold little as well? Heck, people really want to bring up Square, saying they should go back after Final Fantasy 16 when that sold 3 million in its first week. They said, oh, it was a financial disappointment when y'all know that's from their previous games before that. Their previous mistakes, Marvel's Avengers and Forspoken. That's where that disappointment came from. So they put all their bets on Final Fantasy to make up for it. And it certainly sold better than those two, but it wasn't enough for their BS standards. And look at the Final Fantasy VII remake. Also 3 mil sold in its first week, and it took 2 years to sell 7 mil. All these other games that are not stuck in the 80s and 90s, that don't handicap us, don't make us stand there, take turns attacking, and force us to grind early so later enemies don't take us out in one turn, they all sell far better. Now, where were all these turn-based classic Final Fantasy fanboys when it comes to Expedition 33? Oh wait, that 1 mil is them. They were there. They put their money where their mouths were. But turn-based doesn't sell. Doesn't sell well. That 1 mil is proof that turn-based is dead, and it's just niche as fuck. More niche than Souls when I think about it, because again, the Elden Ring DLC, getting 5 mil in its first week, proving that 20 mil BS wrong, but I can believe that 5 mil. DLC from a freaking Souls game sold way more than this thing in its first week. That says a lot. And some people want to say when Square switched to real-time combat, that was a shareholder's decision. But these small sales from turn-based games prove Square right. Turn-based doesn't sell like it used to. And y'all forget that Square slowly transitioned to real-time combat with the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. They knew that if they transitioned so quickly, the warning would have been worse. So 13 1 and 2 had that hybrid system, which was still turn-based, and the third one had the Kingdom Hearts style of gameplay. And before anyone says I just don't play turn-based RPGs, I did. Here they are right here. I used to have 13 1 on PS3, so I gotta get that again. And honestly, Pokemon is why I can tolerate turn-based. Heck, I used to have Pokemon Stadium, gotta get that again too. But I don't go out and buy new turn-based games because I'm not stuck in the freaking past. And Lord of the Rings, the Third Age, that's why I will never truly love turn-based RPGs. Back in the day, when I progressed without grinding early, I got stuck at the section with the wall. But years later, I went back to play this and beat it, but I grinded early and got way more attacks and special abilities that I didn't have the first time around. And one thing about turn-based I will never tolerate is the combat becoming complicated for no reason, like Expedition 33. And at least all those games were from those old generations when turn-based was common. And you could just do turn-based and get away with it because consoles still weren't powerful yet. Heck, my only exception to playing other turn-based games would be other games from my era. Especially the original Final Fantasy VII. Or 8, or 10, just all of them, all the old ones. And at least in those old turn-based RPGs, I can just easily grind random battles. That wouldn't take long at all. All these turn-based fanboys will just continue to prove to these AAA companies that turn-based is freaking niche. Now here's one more example, Persona 5. That's another one such fans will love to bring up. When that game first launched in Japan, it sold just nearly around 340k units. When the game dropped for North America and Europe, it sold just 1.5 mil, but as you see here, them sales might be lower than that. So, what, 1.5 mil or 1 mil in the first month? Or perhaps the first week. And it took this game 3 years to sell 3.2 mil copies. Again, other games I mentioned sold that much in its first 3 days, or more in its first 3 days. Again, turn-based isn't dead my ass.